many people show up.
Yeah. Quality.
Yes, exactly. All right, it is time, straight up on the hour, 6 o'clock here in Texas. Time for Talk Time with TJ, Triple T, number 196, creeping up on that 200. And welcome, everybody. My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of helping people find the solutions they are looking for. And it's been good. Had a crazy week. Got to go to Yellowstone with my wife and Grand Tetons and found out that I'm not in the same shape that I thought I was last year. We're going to work on that. But enough of that. We can talk about that later. I want to thank everybody that's out there in YouTube land. Hi, Mom. And for the rest of you out in YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you would do those YouTube things that don't cost you anything but sure help the channel out. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when we're back live. Like the videos that you like and leave comments. I'd really appreciate it. Also, while you're on the internet, go on out and check out my website. That's thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That's what it stands for. It stood for that since way back in the day, way before the internet. So whatever you find on the internet for definitions, it stands for the tall, skinny white boy. The rest are wrong. That's just me, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And while you're there, check out all the pages. I'm blessed to help people with so many different things. A lot of it comes from firsthand experience and lots of classes and lots of wallpaper and blah, 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 and all that good stuff. But you're going to find that I get to help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief, still doing a lot of relationship work. Had a couple of really great stories today from clients. That's always nice to hear. I also get to work with athletes from beginner all the way up to the pro level. That's a lot of fun as well. If you know anybody out there that is looking for some changes in their lives, or even if it's you, feel free to reach out. My information is on the website. And I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's right, free, no charge. Chance to chit-chat for 30 minutes and we go over, see what kind of changes you're looking for and assess whether or not we are a good fit. If we are a good fit, I'll let you know. But I also promise you, if we are not a good fit, I will let you know, and I'll do my best to find you the best person to get you the change that you are not only looking for, but deserve. And now it's time for another little thing that we've been doing for quite a while here. It's introducing the tie of the week. And so this week, one of my spirit animals, Garfield, still eating. That's right, still eating, and then time for a nap, and then we'll eat some more. What else? Anybody got anything that they would like to share from the last 7 days since we met last? Quiet week? Am I the only one that had a crazy week? Yeah, I'm hearing that. I just had a deal getting some feedback on audio. I can hear it too. Not quite sure what we got going on. That's the joys of technology. We'll get it figured out though. So, um, like I said, my wife and I went to Yellowstone and Grand Tetons and uh, got to hike around Lake Jenny. And Jenny kicked my butt. 7.2 miles of up and down and in and around. We hiked around the entire lake. And it's amazing how people judge distance because one of the one of the first things that I found out was we got around there and somebody that was hiking the other way said, "Yeah, you're about 2/3 of the way around. You're on the backside. You're on the easy side." And I was like, "Thank God." And we hiked for quite a while, and then we met somebody, and they said, "Yeah, you're about halfway around." Excuse me? Yep, they were right. We were about halfway around. And the next day, my legs and my feet were reminding me that I have not done this for quite a while. But that
That's
was,
definitely a thing when it comes to hiking. About another mile or so. And that usually is about another 5 and change, depending on which way you're headed. So, yes, you really were about 2/3 of the way through.
yeah, the wrong direction.
Sorry.
If we'd have turned around, I'd have probably been realized that we had gone a third of the way in.
Totally.
Yeah, well, it's all good because now I get to say I did it.
Yes, you did.
Still here. I can still walk.
Thank goodness.
But I tell you what, that next day, man, getting up,
Yeah, hiking miles are different than regular miles.
very much so. Very
Yes.
much so. Even working on our property here, we got 4 acres, and I've had days where I've put in some extensive amounts of steps. But it wasn't this stuff. But we did see some amazing stuff, met some really cool people, uh, took some really cool pictures. So we're gonna, we'll see. I'll share, maybe share some uh, later on. Going to get some stuff printed up, so we'll see how that turns out. Any other stuff to share before we dive into the top? Yes, Lenora.
I am super excited that I ended up taking my entire certification course and completely recording the entire thing over about 10 videos. I think maybe if I do one more. And I made the manual and it looks beautiful and I'm just fine tuning it. And it is something I've been wanting to do for so long. And finally the time appeared, which was really exciting. And I've had a little bit of a change in my schedule, of which I found out it's totally a topic for hour 2. I'll stop there. But yay, the certification is done and we're going to get it posted. And in 16 days, I will be flying to Chicago to teach that certification course live and in person. And then also I will be doing the keynote at Mid-America Hypnosis Conference, which is very exciting. We had a ton of awesome changes and things that are going to be going on. So if anybody's looking for awesomeness and CEUs and a really great time and delicious buffets and tons of growth, come to Chicago.
Yes, exactly.
So
And
excited.
Mark, I muted your mic just to see if that would help, and it looks like you were getting a little feedback off of yours. It was just feeding through. I've figured it out as soon as she talked. The joys of technology. So, anybody else before we move on, or is it time for the topics of the week?
I think it is time for the topics.
You
Topics
still
of,
hear the interference?
No, now it's gotten better.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, again, joys of technology. So, topics of the week for episode number 196, year definers, the past, and adventures. Guess what helped define the topics for this week?
Oh, could only imagine.
And it actually still came from one of my clients. And I wasn't the only one who had a year definer this month. And I'm sitting here, I had it all memorized, and then the squirrel ran away with it. By the way, if you're watching Triple T for the very first time, I forgot to tell you how it works. It's a 2-hour show. The first hour, I do my best to get through 3 topics, and the second hour, we switch gears, and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question or bring up a topic, and I let everybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And if I figure there's anything else that I can add to the discussion, that's when I add my 2 centavos. And squirrels are prevalent here. If you don't know what a squirrel is, that's where you're talking and all of a sudden you're like, oh, squirrel! And my squirrels know squirrels who have squirrels who are related to squirrels that bring their squirrels along. So at any moment in time, you could see me absolutely just go chasing a squirrel down a rabbit hole, and we could end up in a whole new location. Back to the squirrel that took away the explanation that I had for you guys. There was a guy on, I don't remember if it was YouTube or, I mean, a Facebook or Instagram, that talked about building a life not only worth living, but worth remembering. And stated that you should have one thing a month to look forward to, and at least one year-defining event. And we all have certain global events that are year-defining. 9/11, yeah, year-defining. The scamdemic, woo, year-defining.
Not in a good way.
Yes, but then you want year-defining stuff where when I went to Australia to teach, or 1990, I went to Europe for a year to work and travel. You've got, 2007, where I ended up in San Diego. Now, I could call that a tragic year, but that's how I ended up here. This year will be a combination of year defining because I once again got to teach in Las Vegas at Hypnothoughts Live. Then my wife and I went to Grand Tetons in Yellowstone. And in a very short amount of time, I'll be flying off to Chicago to teach out there.
And record. Thank you.
And record, yeah. But still time for you guys to come join us in Chicago. Or if you know anybody that is interested in our type of stuff, let them know, have them get a hold of us.
There's less than 50 tickets left.
Less than 50 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Over 350 sold.
Got The godfather of NLP, Bandler, will be there teaching. Chase Hughes, somebody very awesome, will be doing a keynote there, along with a few others. So if you get a chance, come out and join us. But when you think about year definers, do you plan them or do they show up by accident? And which ones are the ones that stand out the most? Kind of depends sometimes. And if you've got tragic ones, how many of you look at, oh my gosh, this happened? Are we going to have two to make up for it next year? Or are we still going to, this happened now, how do we make this year end on a better note? When you talk about the tragic, quote unquote, year definers, how do you talk about it? Are you stuck in the muck of all of the horrible details about it? Or do you take the time to say, yeah, this happened, but here's how I recovered from it, here's what I got out of it, all the above. Like today is our buddy Phil's birthday from Australia, from down under. So Phil, I hope that you get a chance to watch the recording. We sure miss you, buddy. But that happened in part because Phil had a year defining moment when he and his wife flew to San Diego to attend one of Dr. David's classes. And had so much fun and wanted to come to more classes, but it's a bit of a trip to go from San Diego to the land down under. And so he and a few others got together and pressured David into doing a class in Australia. And that is how I ended up being able to teach in Australia, because our buddy Phil had a year defining episode coming to the States for a class. So now that we've talked about it a little bit, who's got some year defining events that they would like to share? Anybody? Lenore.
I definitely have had year defining events, and I find that one of them was incredible. Actually, several of them were incredible, but one in particular, I hiked 100 miles around the Tour de Mont Blanc, which is, my husband and I, we walked into France, we walked into Italy, and we walked into Switzerland on this hike. So if you imagine, about 2/3 of the way there, yeah, it's about a mile or so.
Yeah.
Definitely a long one, but it totally sticks out in my brain. It was 2019 and didn't get to go back to Europe until 2023 because of COVID. In 2020, we had the trip canceled. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when we think about now how that I wish I could remember the guy's name, but when he said you should have,
Isn't it Jesse Itzler?
I think you're probably right.
Because he talks about a misogi. And
Yeah.
he got it from somebody else.
Whoever came up with it, I completely agree. that you should have one event a month to look forward to
Mm-hmm.
and at least one year defining event a year. And so it should be really hard for us to decide which one we're going to talk about because we should have that many. But the number of people that I've brought this up to, and when I ask them, it's really hard. And a lot of them will remember the bad stuff before they'll remember the good ones. Oh, okay. Masagi, is that her?
Misogi. Oh,
Masoji,
bananas. Yeah.
do something extremely hard once a year, or I like calling it the year defining. 3 winning habits, add one new habit every 3 months. Yeah. Michael.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh my gosh. I think back to the movie Young Gun with Billy the Kid,
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez. He says, you always got to be testing yourself, boys. Always got to be testing. They're like, well, Bill, we don't want to go and do this. We want to make our way to Old Mexico and just hang out for a little bit. Hi. He's like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest test of all. You know how many bounty hunters are going to be looking for us on the way to Old Mexico? Oh, wow. This is exciting. Oh my gosh. You know? And so, yes, test yourself all the time. I've had several year-defining moments this year and last year, the year before, and the biggest one right now is Lunch Money Club. Hopefully we change the world as we know it, and we can't do the great things we do without you. So if you can, go to TikTok and Lunch Money Club, one word. If you could follow us, give us a couple likes, we'd appreciate it. And then this next month, October, we're going to Maui. And with Lunch Money Club, we saved about $3,000 on our stay. So we're staying at the Grand Wailea, which is going to be amazing. They have an elevator swimming pool. So the resort was built because I guess the guy who built the resort had a child that was handicapped. And so they built a swimming pool that takes you up, I believe, 6 stories. It's a water slide. And it's like a platform that lifts you up in the water.
Real.
So it's like a water elevator. Yes. And so, yeah, if you're not a member of Lunch Money Club, become a member. Right now we're doing a special. It's only $10 month to month. So $10 for life. Once you're in, you're in. You can deposit. And you get huge discounts going forward. And I love you guys. You guys are all amazing. And that's it.
Right on.
Right
Very
back at
cool.
you.
Well, that's one of the things in the travel club that I met Dr. David through. When they say that travel is one of the few things that you invest in that makes you richer, I couldn't agree more. I got to go on a trip that was a world record setting trip to Cancun, I believe,
Wow.
for the largest single group travel, and it was nuts, man. But then to add to it, the second day that we were there, my girlfriend had a zip line accident, and we ended up spending the rest of the day in the hospital while they repaired her foot, or the back of her calf. She blew it wide open. Came in hot and hit the landing platform. Talk about a year-defining moment. But because of that, she also got the two of us are up in the front of the group picture, the record-setting group picture, because she's in a wheelchair.
Now, I like the fact that you went to a singles group with a girlfriend.
Oh no, that was the travel club.
Okay.
Yeah, my girlfriend at the time but yeah. So again, which one did I mention first? We set a world record. And she got injured, but she also, when we came back from the States, or back to the States, the doctor here said, whatever doctor worked on her leg and sewed her back up was some of the finest work he'd ever seen.
Wow.
So, and she'd been having some challenges with vertigo and a few other issues that couldn't get cleared up. And the antibiotics that we got in Mexico cleared it up.
Wow.
So,
that's a great thing.
so again, it's like that the story of the what was it, the Chinese farmer when the
Praying for
horse
his son to be safe.
yeah, the horse shows up. Oh, you are so lucky. We'll see. Kid falls off the horse, breaks his arm. Oh, you are so unlucky. We'll see. Yeah, same type of stuff.
Yes.
Anybody else got any stories that they would like to share? That my challenge to you guys is we now have what, 2 months left in 2025? How did that happen? I don't know. But if you haven't had a good year-defining event, what can you plan before the end of the year and start planning for next year? You don't even have to have it quite picked out. Give it a category. I want to do this. I want to see this. I want to go here. I want to do something. But don't write the same thing on 365 pages and call it a book. In fact, one of my clients is looking at publishing a book, and the last time we worked together, I brainstormed with him, and we came up with 5 additional products out of the stuff that he's put in his original book to get published. Lenore.
I will say, if anybody has hesitations with the using ChatGPT or would like some help with it, definitely reach out. It's not as scary as it seems, and it can be incredibly helpful in using it as a tool to brainstorm and to get other ideas and to craft other things. So I don't consider it this big bad thing. I consider it a tool. Like if I was going to build a house, I would need a hammer and some nails and a saw and some concrete, and that's what I consider it. So if anybody's interested and is a little hesitant, you're welcome to reach out and I'll absolutely help you.
Awesome, awesome. And speaking of books, somebody got a book out. Was that this year?
That was this year. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much stuff can you cram into a year? I don't know, but
There,
it's a
there
good
is
challenge to find out.
it is a good challenge to find out. Yeah. I would say probably since I did one big one, I've done something significant each year. And I do recognize like, oh, that was the year I did this. That was the year I did this.
Mhm.
So yeah, good stuff.
And
I
as
did it.
as a professional photographer, the other thing that I want to challenge everybody to is take pictures and make sure that you are in some of the pictures. But the second portion of the challenge is don't keep them on the computer. Don't just leave them on the camera. Print some out. And the making photo albums nowadays is so flippin' easy and affordable. As a professional photographer, it almost offends me, but it also makes me happy that it's easy to get some prints out there to share. There's something about, seeing it on a screen, on a phone, on the computer. It's another thing to see it in a book, a photo album, something hanging on the wall. I recently this summer met a guy, and I was over at his place. We were chit-chatting for a while, and his house it would drive some people nuts. He's got more stuff around than I do. We have a lot in common that way. But he could point out to, just like me, little things about this came from here, and there's a story behind that, and there's a story behind that, and there's a story behind that. Sometimes we need to have those things around to remind us that we lived. Anybody else before we fit in a second topic? Yes, no, maybe so?
Great reminders though.
Thank you. Well, now, switching on to the second topic, speaking of reminders, the past. And again, this came from one of my clients who said that they had met somebody, is one of my relationship clients, and they had met somebody who's dealing with PTSD. And PTSD is that touchy subject because the amount of people that are living with it, dealing with it, who have been going through therapy, some of them for many years. And I've offended a couple of therapists on purpose and not on purpose. But I've seen so many of them that simply invite people in to, let's talk about it. Let's rehash it. And the metaphor that I use, it's like, oh, welcome back for the 900th time. Let's rip the Band-Aid open. Let's dig in there. Oh yeah, remember how that happened? Oh yeah, describe the pain. How did it happen again? How did it make you feel? How does it feel now that you're digging down into it? Oh, look, we're out of time. Put the Band-Aid back on. I'll see you next week for the next 42 years. but thank you for buying my Maserati for me. I appreciate it. And if that just gave somebody PTSD, reach out to one of us. PTSD, one of the easiest ways I've heard it described comes from Dr. David in the training that I did with him, where it's having an event in your life that in your mind at the time with what you were going through was so tragic that your brain just went, okay, that's enough. We're going to go offline for a little bit. We're just going to capture this. And as soon as it's over, we'll go back online. But it encapsulated that moment in time, that event inside of this little bubble. And in that bubble, that version of you that survived the event is trapped and does not realize that they have survived it yet. And it's still taking up the same amount of energy, same CPU. It's like when you've got that video playing on your computer and it's just on loop and you can hear it, and every now and then something accidentally clicks the audio on that, or it pops up and it runs, and then you're like, ah, and you manage to shrink it, but it's always playing. And I've worked with a number of clients that were dealing with that stuff. And when we go back to the event, now they don't have to tell me what the event is. They don't have to describe it. I don't want them to relive it. In fact, my goal is to reach in there and let that version of them know you survived it. It's over. It's September 30th, 2025. And that version of them oftentimes is like, wait, what? For real? I've been fighting this war. I've been dealing with this car crash. I've been reliving this event over and over and over and over and over for 30 years. We survived. Why didn't anybody tell me? Because nobody knew where you were. They didn't understand that you didn't realize that you had survived it. Kind of like there was a Japanese, I believe it was Japanese soldier, holed up on an island for many years. Lost communication, lost his radio, and had no idea the war had ended. And he was on such a remote island that he just knew that that was his post. And if any of the enemy showed up, he was to fight them to the end. Well, that's kind of what PTSD is. That version of you is still up there using resources. Michael.
Along that note with that guy on the island, they actually had to bring in a former general that he knew or knew of to come in and talk the guy down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what happened. So good job.
Yeah. And can you imagine going that long just knowing that you were still in a war. And it doesn't have to be something huge and majorly tragic like that. It can be as simple as you're 5 years old, mom and dad have a fight and you can't find your teddy bear. And you don't even know what mom and dad were fighting about. It could have been over the referee's call on the football game, but you heard them yelling about something, so you knew mom and dad were mad, and you can't find your teddy bear. And that was enough to encapsulate a moment like that. And it can be reactivated by a simple trigger. Somebody talks about, hey, you want to come to Build-A-Bear night? We're going to go down there, and all of a sudden you start crying. Like, wait, what? That's weird. Lenora.
I find PTSD very, very interesting. And although I don't know the clinical term right off the top of my head, I feel like Mark might know that right off the top of his head. Brent, the way that he had explained it and the way that Bessel van der Kolk explains it is right before the moment of impact. They call it T-1. And you often think it's the traumatic moment, but T stands for something that's slipping my brain right now, which is terrible. And it encapsulates all the sensory information. So the sound and the texture, the whatever was going on. So sound, my God, I've said this all week long, and apparently my brain has gone offline. I'm very sorry. Sound.
Squirrel.
Texture. Sight. Smell. There we go.
Oh,
Holy
VACOG.
bananas.
VACOG.
Thank
Visual,
you.
auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory.
And anything that remotely resembles that will go into this container. So this container keeps getting activated. And I like to call it moments of overwhelm, because I feel like our culture would define trauma as very specific, when getting your teddy bear taken away, yes, absolutely could be defined as overwhelming. People might not necessarily call it trauma. I really got to figure out what this T is, because it's driving me bananas. But it to me is absolutely fascinating. And I didn't realize that I would have never considered myself as somebody who had PTSD, or, was similar to somebody who had been in a war, or similar to somebody who had been in more of an extreme situation. Knowing what I know now, I can see how people could characterize it differently, especially when it comes to vocabulary. So that's why I tend to lean toward moments of overwhelm, because the nervous system was the one that decided, not the culture, not the person. It wasn't like, oh, I need to file this as traumatic. It was, oh, this was overwhelming for me, and I need to capture all this information. I'm going to go find out what that T is, because that's terrible that I forgot.
Well, and I saw somebody sent me an Instagram reel today where they said there are so many things in our life that we could easily label as full trauma, traumatic, all being born. Talk about trauma. And yet, most of us don't have the attachment to that event. Some do, because some births are, there's this level of trauma being born, and then some have this level trauma being born. And yet you have to go in and let them know that you've survived it, you're here, this is the current date that you are living in. Mark.
Yeah, long time ago when I was starting out on this journey, I used to conceptualize PTSD as the event horizon of the soul, because those moments in time get stuck, okay, right on the event horizon, like around a black hole. So back when I started this journey, that's how I conceptualized PTSD, is just these moments frozen in time. So and I used to call it the event horizon of the soul. And but I have a couple of different techniques. I was working with somebody today, called me, and if you're using hypnotherapy, you got them in the office. You can, I tend to use timeline therapy within the bounds of hypnotherapy, and because I feel that your mind is really good at recording and remembering traumatic events, but it doesn't know how to get rid of them. So,
Yes.
and what Lenore was talking about, I seem to remember some learning where you remember every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up to the traumatic event, but you don't remember the traumatic event itself. Your mind kind of blocks it. I know that, so I don't know what the term she was looking for, but but if you use timeline therapy, you can get in there and you can clean up the past, and doing timeline therapy I found has been quite beneficial, and but from a practical point of view, I was talking about it today with a client, just again, like you said, recapitulating, TJ, the event. People feel worse when they leave
Yes.
therapy than when they arrive, and it's like, again, because they're not going to talk their way through it or around it, because like I say, it's crystallized, and you got to get in there. And I have a whole protocol where, that I built based on my understanding of how from a particular point of view, the mind is like a computer, and then when a PTSD moment is triggered, the file comes up into the hippocampus, and that's when you can do something about it, because it's going to get stored again that night in that little section of permanent memory devoted to traumatic memories. But when it's in the hippocampus, is something you can do something about it. So, and SEAL teams, Green Berets, Special Forces, they're all required to, after a firefight, they're required to play this little Game Boy. And the games are about manipulating objects in space, which is like Tetris. Everybody remembers Tetris. And it's been very useful with people, because it interferes with the mind's ability to store that memory as in that space it reserves for traumatic, if you play Tetris for an hour. And I've been able to help a bunch of people by recommending that they do this whenever a traumatic memory surfaces. So that's and it's been very
You were
successful.
talking about that over the summer.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the and I was explaining that protocol, because there are I said for whatever reason, when you engage, like I had this client, he had been stabbed, they kept having flashbacks, so I recommended that whenever he has a flashback, and he'd have 5 or 6 a week, that he would play Tetris before he went to bed that night, so the memory doesn't get restored in that section of the mind that stores traumatic memories. And I wasn't having a lot of success till like beginning of September, October, when he consistently reported no flashbacks. So I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, I couldn't remember. If I had I had a flashback early in the day. I couldn't remember to play Tetris before I went to sleep that night. So I just made a habit of playing it every day at lunch. Just do what I tell you to do. And by the end of October, November, he was not having any flashbacks. So,
Awesome. And some people be like, can it be that simple? Yes
yeah,
and no. And
yeah,
in some ways it can. And one of the things that I also have to remind my clients is the goal is to save the lesson, but you don't need the whole story along with it. You don't need all the schmutz. You don't need, if you know me well enough, I've got metaphors all year long. And one of the metaphors that I use for this stuff is it's kind of like your life is this beautiful property, and you take as much time as possible to make sure that the front lawn is all manicured and all the flowers are beautiful. To the outside, everybody can see that you've got this wonderful, beautiful life, but you don't want them coming inside because inside the house there's bags of schmutz. I'm going to use that as the clean word. And it's all the things that have happened in your life, and it reeks, and people will be like, well, just get rid of the schmutz. Well, yeah, but inside of each one of those bags of schmutz is golf balls of lessons that you paid for dearly. And you go, well, then just get the golf balls. And so many people are afraid. A, they don't know where the all the bags are. B, they're afraid to go back in there because they're going to get schmutz on themselves. I'm like, well, it's your schmutz. You've already survived it. You've already learned how to wash that part off, that old schmutz. You pull out the golf balls, the lessons, whatever, clean them up, and you put them into a specialized storage place so that your subconscious and your conscious can go, oh, the lessons saved. We don't have to worry about making that mistake again. Now we can take the garbage out.
let go of the rest, keep the life lessons. But in conclusion, I'd just like to say, like I said, if it didn't work, why are all the special forces, Green Berets, SEAL teams ordered to do this after a firefight? The next day, they'll remember all the details of the firefight, but it won't be stored as a traumatic memory. So
Exactly.
if this was not a valid protocol, why do all those specialized people who get into some very dangerous situations, why are they ordered to do that before they go to sleep that night?
Yes.
Just saying.
And I've had the privilege of helping a number of them that I've even got some clients from Vietnam. And that's been a good long minute ago. And after I clear that stuff up, man, they come out and they're just drenched in sweat. And they're like, I feel like I just lost 1,000 pounds. And I said, well, in a way you did. You've been carrying this stuff the whole time. And there was a portion of a version of them that still was in the war, that was still dealing with all of that emotion, that action, everything that was happening back there. And as soon as that version realized, dude, it's 2025, they're like, oh, so I don't have to keep fighting? You survived. Wow, I can finally lay my gun down and go on living. Michael.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right before what Mark said, you were talking about giving birth and the baby coming out and that type of stuff. And that actually triggered a squirrel and a memory of a meme of self-talk, Diane Lenora. So imagine the baby talking to itself saying, There's nothing outside of this. There's nothing out there. We're in a safe, warm place. There's nothing else out there. You know, and then the traumatic event of leaving the womb, and now seeing there's this whole other world out here. And
Yeah.
we have that with every step or every giant step that we take, which is very cool. So, anyway,
And I'm glad you brought that up because when you're in the womb, mom is the voice of God.
yeah,
Then you hear all that, and now all of a sudden, mom is screaming and yelling and pushing, and there's all of this stuff going on, and you know that mom is stressed, and now I'm stressed, and yeah, trauma.
yeah. So very cool.
Great
Lenora.
stuff. I did want to, I love what you shared, both Michael and Mark. I love that. And I did put a link in the book. T does stand for T-1. T does stand for trauma, but they were also saying that there isn't something very, it was kind of standard. So it was trauma minus 1 millisecond. And this was the term actually termed by David Grove, who was a psychologist in New Zealand. And he talks about the T-1 millisecond is the pre-overwhelm, the pre-trauma, where everything gets captured into this container to keep you safe, and that it is a protective mechanism that is implemented and that we are designed that way. And I thought that was really interesting too. So I just wanted to finish that and close that loop.
Thank you. And it's also the same as virus software on your computer. It finds this program, this deal that is not good for your computer, your operating software, and so it quarantines it, traps it in a package. If anybody's a fan of Ghostbusters, grab that demon, yep, right there, and you're going to put it into one of them fine contraptions, and it's stored in there, but it's still alive, and it's still taking up energy, and it still has the ability to communicate, but not in a way that makes it easy. That's why when Brent Baum came up with HMR, it changed the industry so much because you knew where something was stored. You weren't sure what was inside of it. You just knew that it was draining energy, it was causing reactions, it was causing issues. And one of the beautiful things about HMR is the client doesn't even have to understand what the issue is. They just know something isn't right. They don't have to tell us as practitioners what it is. They just have to know where it is so that we can go in and help them unpack it and replace it with something better. Lenora.
My brain has since returned. The reason that it's so helpful, especially HMR, is because it speaks in the language of the nervous system. So if you say to yourself, I'm calm, I'm calm, I'm calm, you're using the language of your brain, not the language of your nervous system. Your nervous system speaks in colors, shapes, sizes, textures, and sounds. There we go. That rolled off my tongue that time. And that's why it's so helpful, especially because you don't have to go through the event, which there are so many protocols that have you go through the event forward or backwards at different points. But when it comes to this and noticing where it lives in your body, having that somatic address, you can tune into that, and then you can share and communicate with your body because it is yours and your nervous system in color, shape, sizes, and textures. And what you will notice is a full recalibration, as in you're likely going to yawn, you're likely going to burp, you might cry, a variety of things. And I think one of the great things is that this is one of the ways that people can get help. And there are so many ways that people can get help. And this is one of the ways. And it happens to be my personal favorite because I'm pretty convinced it saved my life. But neither here nor there.
And I'm glad you brought up abreactions, and I'm sad you brought up abreactions because we're at the top of the hour, which may bring an abreaction to some of you that wanted to hear more of this. But one of the great things that Dr. David teaches versus some of the other classes that I've attended is how to deal with abreactions. Which if you're a practitioner, please, if you haven't, if the class you took and you got a certification from did not teach you how to deal with abreactions, you didn't learn how to work with clients. And I got I got a lot of practice. But that's for another day, another story, or if somebody wants to bring it up as a topic, because we are at the top of the hour and it's time to move into the second hour of Triple T, where the people on the call get to bring up a question or a topic, and everybody on the call gets to answer first. So if you're out there and you're watching live or you're watching the recording and you've got some questions, please join us. If you don't know how to get on the call with us, reach out to me. You can go to my website and get a hold of me or anybody here, and we can help you get on the call. It's the same call every week. I wanted to make it easy like that. So, without any further ado, who's going to start off hour number 2?
Elijah chimed in. Especially
yes.
great insights too.
Elijah, yep, straight out of training. Don't touch the client. Well, I'm gonna challenge that one just a little bit. Don't change what you're doing with the client. If you've got your hand on the client and they abreact, you keep your hand on the client. You don't pull it off. If you are not touching the client and they abreact, do not reach out and touch the client. So keep the contact the same. Stay calm. If unconfident, put it back in the box. If confident, proceed. Yes. And put it back in the box is one of the parts of the trainings that we are trained on how to work with people. Thank you for bringing that up. So, anybody got a question or a topic to get the hour number 2 rolling?
I had a question, and this is a bit personal or kind of random, especially for, I feel like Renee and I might have a different, is Renee, oh good, Renee's still here, might have had a little bit different of experience because we're female. But for the men in the group, and the fact that you all have clearly what I would consider a greater awareness, a different level of thinking. Before the internet, did you have these experiences? Did you have these insights? Who would you talk to? Or how different is it knowing now you have a group of people to talk to?
Oh, all right.
I was just very curious because
got an
there were
answer,
so many
guys?
great things that come up, and I think it's a wonderful thing that I think I met maybe 2 of you in my entire life, and I've known you for a number of years, and yet I see you every week, and you all bring such a beautiful value to my life. Renee, you're absolutely included. I know as a female, it can be a little different because sometimes you can kind of get an inkling of like, no, those are not my people, or like maybe they're a little bit on a different level. Are they where I'm at? So just curious.
Mark's got his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have supervision once a week, and sometimes it turned into, the supervisor, telling stories about different insights, situations that they, they had encountered, and um, but having that 1 hour a week, because if you had a insight or something popped up and you wanted to bring it out, there was like 10 or 12 of us in the outreach team, and we could, we could bring stuff up and talk about it. This was all pre-internet or beginnings of the internet. So yeah, having supervision with, a bunch of other professionals in the field, I found to be on a par with some of this, again, it helped me to, mature as people were talking about, things that they had encountered. So, if that's the right answer, I hope.
Of course, it was a perfect answer. I'm glad
Awesome.
you had people to talk to.
Who else has an answer for her?
Did you say pre-internet?
Pre-internet, or I would
Like,
sure, or pre this group.
well, internet's what, 40 years? Yeah, something like that. Roughly 35, 40 years or so. For me, I guess a lot of it was just I was alone, kind of walking through the dark forest trying to find the path, looking for signs and signals because I knew that there was something there. I've always had this kind of awareness from grammar school or before that I wasn't just this meat suit, there was something more to life, deeper, higher. Um, I had some really good friends. My first wife, Beth, was definitely higher order. She does this on a higher level now. She's down in Mexico and she's in this group, and they do a lot of journeys. Sometimes they use some mushrooms or whatever, but they they definitely do. They get out there, So I met her when I was like 20, and I knew I wanted to move to California, and she did too, because you didn't discuss things back, that 40 some odd years ago with people. Feelings. Yeah, I feel like going to get a drink. That was about as far as it ever went with friends. I was ostracized. So, bringing up anything that was below the surface. You know. Um, so I think for me, it was just I did a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of listening to whatever I could. We had Ram Dass, back in the day, those kinds of guys, the LSD guys and those kinds. So we listen to those, and I guess for me, in time as you listen, there's certain things that correlate, right? Listen to like 10 different people and like, it's okay. And then you start getting the pieces of the puzzle put together, and you go, oh yeah, okay, I've heard that before and I feel it, and yeah, so I had her and a couple other people and a lot of just keep on moving down the path, ask a lot of questions, connect with people. Is much easier coming to California because, it's much more acceptable to do inner work, but for sure now with the internet, all that this information available, it's almost too much sometimes,
Yes.
But anyway, that was my experience early on.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mark.
I was just thinking, TJ, you have another type of answer, but um, yeah, sometimes we kind of get the same kind of clients when you're a bartender. Um, you
Yeah.
can you go talk, you go to the local pub and you can always talk to the bartender about this stuff. So you
Mhm.
might have some stories there, TJ.
My answer, man made a bar. Yes, I started bartending when I was 17, and it wasn't until I started taking classes with Dr. David that I realized that in a lot of the things that I did, I did a lot of these things naturally without knowing what I was doing. I've always been good at reframing. I've always been good at metaphors. I've always been good at helping talk people through issues and things like that without the, you know, here's all these tools. I didn't even know they were tools. I was just helping people.
Mhm.
And then, like Greg pointed out, along comes the internet, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you start digging down the rabbit hole, and you're like, holy cow, which can also be dangerous because I've also had clients who started self diagnosing,
Mm.
and all of a sudden they've got 15 more issues than they did when they started looking. So if that resonates with some of you out there watching or watching the recording, yeah, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of information that isn't fully explained, which can also lead to challenges. And so if you've found yourself dealing with that, please reach out to one of us to help you get the solution you're looking for.
It's funny you mentioned bartending. I completely forgot about that. Bartending, waiting tables. Now, like you, I was in the restaurant business for a number of years, and I think I didn't think about it because it was more natural. When I'm speaking with people, you just go into this automatic whatever psychology, or like you just, I don't know, you have this kind of inner empathetic thing for people. I do anyway. I'm a good listener, which is really necessary if you do this kind of thing. And I would empathize, and uh, I don't know if it was reframing or mirroring, whatever, but I remember doing that, because when you're bartending, especially if it's a quieter time, you have a chance to like lean on the bar and chat. If you're busy, not so much. But people start getting high and they open up and they lose their inhibitions and they start, telling you. I don't know about you guys, but people tell me within 3 minutes of meeting them, they seem to like they want to tell me everything about their lives, you know, deepest, darkest secrets. And they'll even say, I don't talk to anybody like this. When I talk to you, it's like I can say anything, which can be a good thing because I enjoy helping people. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes it's an hour and a half later and, they're still talking. And I'm still listening, and it gets challenging to break away. But in the end, I enjoy it.
And it was interesting how we now know the names of the tools,
Yeah.
echoing and mirroring and all of the above.
ABT.
You start looking back, like I say, Dr. David be teaching this stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's what that's called.
Right.
And I was doing it not rudely, crudely. It's kind of like you can actually put in screws with a hammer, but it's more efficient with a screwdriver.
Mhm.
And so you learn, oh, I've always owned this tool, and I was able to use it, but not the way that it's the most efficient.
Mhm.
And that's where having a community like this, where people start understanding the language that you speak,
Yes,
it it gets very rewarding. Mark.
absolutely.
Yeah, speaking to something you said earlier, TJ, trying to relate it back to Lenore's question, but I used to have the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. It's like, it's a big tome which we use to diagnose people. And my daughter used to bring it out at parties when she had her girlfriends over, and they'd like read the criteria. Like, yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got this. I've got, reactive attachment disorder. I've got, and they literally go through the book and, again, they were trying to self-diagnose, but, again, this was not quite pre-internet, but yeah, they had a lot of fun diagnosing themselves at parties. My daughter would bring the book out. So,
Mhm. Which leads to a Instagram reel that was sent to me, and I don't know if it was from a movie or what. And it said these poor teachers these days. It has a young lady in the class going, "Teacher, I don't feel comfortable talking about this subject because it triggers inside of me. I I have asymptomatic Tourette's." He's like, "What?" And of course, the other students, "Oh, you go along, girl. You're strong. You can do this. It's not his fault that he just doesn't understand what you're going through." And he's like, "Wait, asymptomatic Tourette's?" And she starts to explain. He goes, "No, I know enough about the words." "Well, it can only be self-diagnosed."
Oop.
And he's like, "So you've got asymptomatic means no symptoms, Tourette's, which I know, but you've only been self-diagnosed. Welcome to the age of internet."
Mm-hmm. Some people are very comfortable with labels.
Yes,
This is
and
part of
nothing
the
means anything until you give it a
social
label,
structure. No kidding.
and they don't realize how dangerous it is
No kidding. Yeah,
sometimes.
certainly not. It puts you in a box. I mean, that's what the mind wants to do. It wants to categorize everything. This can't be floating around. We have to put in this box and put a label on it. Oh, now we're comfortable. We can keep it at bay. It's over there. You
Yes.
know.
So if you know anybody that has asymptomatic Tourette's, have them reach out to us, and we'll do our best to help
Tourette's,
them.
I guess we all do. Most of us who don't have Tourette's have asymptomatic Tourette's, right?
Yes,
That might
yes,
explain a few things.
yes. So here we are. We can all self-diagnose ourselves, and
Yeah. I have asymptomatic sanity.
I know we think a
But
whole lot of dirty
bum.
words a lot.
right?
We think what?
I said we think of a lot of dirty words a whole lot. You
Oh
son of a.
yes, yeah. That would be thinking of the dirty words and not saying them would probably be asymptomatic Tourette's.
Mm. hmm
Although I've had a few episodes of actual Tourette's, but I wasn't surprised. Well, I was a little surprised when it came out of my mouth, but not quite as much as the person that I said it to. So,
hmm
but I self-diagnosed and I corrected it also. So um, I found the cure, and
And here you are.
yes, and here we are. Anybody else got anything to add to that, or is it time for a new question topic? Lenora, did you get the answers you were looking for?
I did. Thank you so much to everyone who shared. That was very interesting.
Well, that leads us back to time for the next question or topic. Who's got something for us? Mark.
Yeah, I just had a term, like I said, it's that I'm trying to expand the meaning of it, to see if I can apply it in other areas. Talk about a transderivational search. Okay. And I guess an example would go a long way to explain my understanding of it. When people leave therapy, you say to them in the best NLP fashion, that's great. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. But as you know, things will come up. what things? How many things? But you leave that vague. And if things, and when things come up, feel free to reach out and give me a call or come back for, a couple more sessions. So when things come up in their lives, people engage in a transderivational search. Like, okay, I've got this issue, this thing I need to focus on. Who could help me? And they do a transderivational search through their mind, and they settle on the person that said that to them, basically. And I know I can pick up the phone and call Mark, and maybe I go in get a little tune up. So when the mind, when they do that transderivational search, they're looking for all pieces or something that they could, like I said, some people will, again, that's my understanding of transderivational searches, but I was wondering what other people's understanding of that term was, if you've heard it. Our resident Wikipedia, unfortunately, Holly is missing, but I would have loved to gotten her input on that term and her understanding of it. But I threw it out there. The term came up, and I was like, okay, what do other people, have they heard the term, and what's their understanding of it? So that's my question.
All right. Right to the pro level. Who's got an answer for that?
I've heard of it. I don't ever consider myself to be applying it because I just don't. Usually I'm going after something specific, or I'll play with something else like the word but or the word might or something in that category. I don't know if Elijah's coming on the mic at all. He might be able to offer more clear insights. I'm empty-handed on that one. Savo used to be really, really good at knowing like definitions and how to apply them, and he was linguistically incredibly skilled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as you asked that, Mark, my squirrels ran right to the woods. I'm like,
I know it in like the formal terms, like if you go to an NLP class,
yes.
but it's not usually in my wheelhouse of what I'm going after. When I encourage clients, or when I draw their awareness to things coming up, I'll let them know. I tend to ground them more and remind them that they're human. And it's not that things won't come up. It's that they now have better tools. They know more now than they did before. And they now can either use a tool or they can reach out to somebody. What are those 3 solutions that are in place before that moment of overwhelm or before something happens, if they're talking about emotional eating or things like that.
Yes, Elijah, you did hear your name. The question is, what is your definition of transderivational search?
Hello, can you hear me?
There he is, the night owl himself, the night
Hi,
ninja.
morning.
Good morning.
Transderivational search is when your brain takes the thing that you hear and references all its entire history in like a split second and throws up an internal representation of what it thinks the other person's talking about.
Elijah's so helpful.
So if
Thank
I
you.
say cat, some of you might have a ginger cat or a black cat or a tiger or a domestic cat or whatever. And I can get more specific by saying the black cat or the three-legged cat or something. But if I do it the other way, then I can cause you to research every time. So if I say the cat that had 3 legs, that was ginger, with a white face, rolled down the hill, and then bumped into a car, you had to edit the picture several times over, which makes it rather uncomfortable for people to listen to. But something like the hood-wearing, staff-carrying magician majestically floated down the hall is very easy to get in one search. So you put the descriptor before what it describes, and that is the way people write poetry, and it makes it a lot easier for people to know exactly what you mean without having to rethink it over and over.
Thank you. Even my squirrels came back out of the woods and went, ah, well done. Renee.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are.
Oh, yeah. Elijah pretty much got it. I was just going to give the analogy of, you know, how you do a word search and say like a Word document, but think of it like pictures. So if you look up cat, it's going to pull up all those instances of cat. But then if you add on other descriptors, obviously it would shrink down the amount of information that comes back to you. So I think of the brain as just being a huge filing cabinet of like pictures and movies. And then all you're doing is putting criteria, what you want to pull up and see.
Awesome. Great answer. Elijah.
So Igor Ledhovsky uses a word, mentalization, which is not a real word, but it's he derived it from the word visualization, and he basically was saying that when you represent something in your mind, a lot of times people ask for you to imagine something or visualize something, but for everyone it might not be that way. Like your transderivational search, like if I say cat, you might, instead of having a picture of a cat, you might think about like how soft the fur is, and that could be a kinesthetic thing. So by using the word mentalization, then it could come in any, your internal representation could come in any form or any combination of the senses, and doesn't necessarily have to be visual.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that also, for practitioners, reminds us that when we're working with clients, we have to be specifically vague oftentimes. I had one student that was practicing with me, and she was talking about, now envision that you're in this place that's blue, and the sky is blue, and the water is blue, and notice how good it makes you feel. But she didn't understand that I had just worked with somebody else that was talking about some very depressing stuff. And so when she was bringing up blue, all that it was doing for me was making me more depressed, because my transderivational search at the moment was searching for things that were in alignment with what I was feeling when we started. And so something as innocent as a color can still take you to a place, in multiple places, I guess, depending on what's going on with the day. Now I got to have a little fun here. Now that Mr. Duncan is taking a little break here, if I say
I'm here.
a record player, you guys probably all have one in mind, or something that reminds you of something. But I'm going to showcase Greg for just a second. Greg, would you show them the one that you just finished that you just put away and describe it to
I
them?
was watching it. I'm like, man, that's impressive to be able to navigate around, focus, and do that.
This is a particularly cool little piece.
Yes.
This is a Roy Rogers record player, really ahead of its time. Look at all the cool stuff on here. The hand
Aw.
drawings of Roy Rogers and Trigger, right?
Wow, that's cool.
And 1949,
Wow.
a fully automatic stacking. You can put up to 10, 45 RPM only. Put them on this stacker, and you hit the button and it drops it down and plays. And when it's done, the arm moves over, drops the next record, and plays the up to 10 different records.
Wow, that's
Got a
cool.
tube amplifier in it. Really, really way far ahead of its time.
That is very cool.
It's been brutal working on this thing. It really brutal. It's just these kinds of things can fight you tooth and nail. But I don't give up ever.
Was waiting for you're happy to report that it is now healed.
I love making that call. That's a customer's unit, and it's been here for probably 8 weeks. I
Wow.
send it out to my tech, and he had to fix the tube amplifier. Somebody had been in there and totally mucked it up on the inside, so I had to find a new cartridge for it from the Netherlands. Like the last cartridge, the needle and cartridge on the planet, I think, and it took about 4 weeks for that to get here. So
Wow.
I just got it going, and it's making noise. It sounds like crap, but at least it's making some noise.
Congratulations.
So anyway, that's part of what I do. Lots of turntables. Vinyl has come in the last 10 years especially, but more and more and more. I work on, I don't know, 2 or 3 turntables a day. I just got another one today. Somebody dropped off for service. So yeah, fun stuff.
Very cool.
If you record the whole thing, it would be a massive YouTube channel watching those restorations.
I actually, TJ recommended that a couple of weeks ago, and I did make a series of videos on an old Marantz receiver. And
That's
what I get in this mode where, okay, what's the next one? What's the next one? And suddenly I have it all apart. And I went, no, TJ said this, like film it from the beginning. So I set up a camera on a tripod, my phone on a tripod, and I recorded like probably an hour and a half's worth of just describing what I was doing and whatever came to mind. And I try to put in whenever possible little pinches of triggering information, like of a spiritual, growth, whatever nature, tell little stories like that. So I think you're right. It could be an interesting YouTube channel.
That's very cool.
I'm so glad that I caught you with that one because, yeah, Greg and I have talked quite a number of times about that one. And not to change us off the subject too much, but it's still a form of anchors and therapy for some of these clients who are bringing in these items that they remember from their childhood.
Absolutely.
And you've got Greg going, this is from 1949. And the way it was built, understanding that there were no computers to design it.
No.
This all had to be written down, all the gears, the mechanical gears to make things happen, to make the timing, to get to get it to play.
Yeah.
And now here it is needing help.
Yep. Resurrection. They're really miracles, these things. These guys do without computers, just they sat with a whole bunch of parts and just put them together one by trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. I mean, you look inside of this thing, it's like a very complicated, larger Swiss watch.
There. Yep.
Yeah. And there
That
is
is
a lot, like
cool.
I really, I feel like part psychologist here, because people come in and they're like, this was a guy who he wanted me to finish it for his 80th birthday. He said he had it, I think his whole life, and it went on a shelf decades ago. And he said, for my 80th birthday, I'd love to have this and play some of my old records. So there's such strong emotional attachment to these things, memories. I had a lady bring in this old KLH or a turntable with a pair of speakers. She said, my grandma used to sit me on her lap and we would play, Frank Sinatra records, and that's one of the joys of what I do. I get to help people relive those wonderful memories from the past, right? Hold on to the good stuff, forget about the bad stuff, or use the bad stuff as lessons, or the challenging things, I should say. So it's very rewarding when I can offer that to people, bring back a piece of their wonderful childhood or someplace in their history. And I mean, it's music, right? It's music. It's like the healing power of music is amazing. They're having a bad day, go home, put on an old record, and just sit there with a glass of wine or whatever. And it's like taking a walk on the beach, or through the forest. So it's very cool. It's not about the money. It's like I'm not getting rich on this, but I'm getting rich on that. As you guys know, when you use your talents and abilities, and people like they smile and their eyes glisten, right? And they go, thank you, I can't thank you enough. And they sometimes leave crying, like thank you, thank you, thank you. A win-win. Everybody wins. Yeah, great stuff.
And a little thing here. The number of times that I tell you guys that you're one hello away from a different life.
Mm,
I met Greg because I wanted a stereo for my car. And so I went looking around, and then I went on Craigslist, and well, here was this really cool stereo. It was car stereo. It was just what I was looking for, and I showed up, and he had all of these vintage audio, and we got to talking and chatting, and we've been talking and chatting ever since.
hmm Yep. I've made so many connections with people, friends, just amazing. That's the other wonderful part of this business is, other like-minded people who love music and they want to either the young people want to get music, they hear analog music, vintage analog music, and they just go, oh my God, the heavens have opened up. I have to have this in my life. Or people who, how many times I heard this story? Oh, I got married. I went to college. I don't know what happened to my equipment. My son took it and for when he got married, whatever, and it disappears. So they want to come back to it again, you know. And a lot of my clients, I mean, all ages, a lot of older people. So we have so much in common. My gosh, I meet people from back east where I'm from, and we share stories and talk about the restaurants we used to go to. I met a guy recently who went to a restaurant in Chinatown in New York City called Wohop, and how he loves the place, favorite Chinese restaurant in New York City, and he still when he visits, he goes back there. So oh my God, we spend hours sometimes just chatting away here, and it's so cathartic for everybody. You can feel the energy just rise as you're sharing and connecting, and the hairs, standing up on your arms and on the back of your neck, and it's like feels so good.
The other reason I brought this up
Mm-hmm.
kind of ties right into Lenora's question earlier.
Yeah.
How did we deal with stuff before the internet?
Yeah.
The mechanic shop, the bar, the grocery store,
Yeah.
the the restaurant, the the quilting groups.
Yeah.
And one of the things I saw, and I'll get to you, Michael, in just a bit, I saw this really cool reel on the Amish.
Mm.
And part of the reason why they don't have a lot of the technology that they turned down, and they said when the way we look at technology and changes, does it help keep us close together?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have telephones because if we did, we wouldn't have to live in a small community. Right now, if Mark's barn burns down, we have it rebuilt in 4 days because we are all in this community. If we had telephones, we would start being over here and over here and over here and over here, and we wouldn't have that community. If it doesn't keep our community tight and close together, we don't need it, we don't want it. And we've gotten so far away from that now. One of the things that my wife and I noticed while we were on vacation, even there in this grand splendor, if you haven't actually driven through Yellowstone National Park and seen some of the stuff there, please do it. Holy banana peels, and set aside 3 days. It will take you that much to see some of it. And yet we're still seeing people, and the kids are on their phones, and we walk by the restaurants there, and we saw, looking in the windows of a couple of the restaurants, everybody at the table, everybody was on their phone. They had forgotten how to talk.
Yep.
Michael.
I was just gonna say, give some good vibes to my little Mocha.
Ah!
She had her tail cut off today, so she had happy tail, and so she kept injuring it, and we couldn't get it healed, and so we made a decision because she was starting to get sick and not eating yesterday and that stuff. So we had her had it amputated, and she's just kind of a sad puppy.
Oh.
But it looks really good. It'll heal up quicker, which is a good thing. But the neat thing about it, it kind of ties into animals and different things when we have trauma, how we deal with it, and we can segment it away, So you look at a deer that was just chased by a mountain lion. It's running for dear life, and it gets away, and then it takes a couple breaths, and then deals with it, puts it all away. So anyway,
Takes it off.
yeah,
Well, Mocha has a year-defining event.
yes, she does. So just a cute little girl. Right there.
Well, I just found out that my wife signed up our German Shepherd for a year-defining event
Mm-hmm.
because he's not allowed to go to the other dog camp with his huevos intact. And so about 6 years old, and all of a sudden he's going to show up at the vet and wake up out of the vet going, I seem a little lighter.
So that reminds me of two things, and it's you kind of need to do this if you can. Make sure he gets in trouble the day that you take him, so he knows not to do that again. Number one.
That'll stick.
And number two, if you all ever watched or looked at The Far Side, Gary Larson.
Yep.
One of my favorite Far Sides was this dog's in a yard and he's tied up, and the other dog's in the backseat of a car, and he says, "Ha ha ha, Biff! After we go to the drugstore and the grocery store, we're going to the vets, and I'm going to get tutored."
Not quite what you think.
Exactly.
All the conversations we have here. Well, that leaves us with 16 minis left. Any other topics, questions that we can throw at the group? And there's that silence. You guys kill me some days. I know some of you have books, journals full of questions,
Yes.
but I know what it's like. The question gets asked, and all of a sudden the squirrels run away with everything that you had prepared, and then at 3 minutes before the hour, you're like, "Oh, I remember the question."
Pretty much.
It's a half-hour answer question. We've got 2 minutes left.
I guess. Go ahead, Lenora.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. So I found something interesting. And I would say it's more about alignment. And what I had always thought was 1 + 1 = 2. Like if you put this in, you put the effort in on this very specific thing, it will yield this. And I'm finding out that it is not the case. And most recently I put, it's not about waiting for the universe, it's about aligning with it. And I know I have heard this before. I know this is not the first like aha, but the way that things have been going lately was my regular other stuff took quite a turn in my life. So now I had an opening and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. And I'm going to do whatever I can to keep making progress as quickly as I can. And in all that time that I was working on something, all these other things kept coming in, even though they had nothing to do with what I was working on. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I kind of took it as similar to what Bashar has says, where it's just focus on something that's going to bring you as much joy and that you feel like you're getting the gears moving, and everything else will start taking care of itself. And I found that to be very true most recently over the last 3 weeks. And then I got myself into a pickle. And I ended up putting myself back. I did this. I'm very aware that I did this. And I put myself back into a position that I did not want to be in. And I found myself in that position today. And my head, I kept screaming was like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is so freaking clear that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And rather than sucking it up and dealing with it, which I have been known to like, just keep your mouth shut, just do what you have to do, da, 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 da. It's like, no, this is absolutely not what I'm going to be doing. I have no desire to do this. And it's kind of like the situation's kind of in limbo, but I found it really interesting to be that certain of something I didn't want, even though I knew I didn't want it. But like I was adamant about it. So it was just very interesting. I didn't know if anybody else has successfully put themselves back in a position that they did not want to be in and had to now effectively work their way out of it.
What's your take on it? Is it like you didn't get the lesson the first time, maybe?
I think it was more things just had to line up, and it's like you can go that way, but it's going this way. You can go that way, but it's still going this way. I know you can't see it right now, but it's still going this way. So which way would you like to go? Is kind of how it went. It was very trust the process, trust the universe.
Oh man, I feel that one. Patience, right? That
Yes.
everything.
Elijah's favorite word.
I'll tell people all day long that there's no mistakes. It's a benevolent God or a benevolent universe. Everything is for your benefit, even though your ego jumps in and says, this is terrible, I don't want to do it. Those things especially you should embrace, right? Because that's where there's more light. But we have these things between our ears called egos and righteousness, and we want to be right. We want to be right. We want to be comfortable right now all the time. you know.
Yeah.
So same thing for me. Patience.
Yeah.
If I may, I'll share this. What I was going to say before, and I think it relates. It's about patience, being in the moment, acceptance, right? I took my car to get smogged. In California, we have to California. We are under the regulations of government for everything. So anyway, I made an appointment. I have an older vehicle, and not every place does it. So I finally found this place. Show up at noon, right? And my car has to be hot when it's to be smogged properly. It's an air-cooled engine, has to be hot. Otherwise, the what do you call it? The particulates go up high. I get there at noon, and the guy does the paperwork. 12:25, he comes. The guy finally, meanders over, gets the car, and brings it around back. I couldn't really see it. An hour later, he comes with this piece of paper saying that I had the wrong catalytic converter on the car. I'm like, no, I've passed smog with it before. I bought it in California, so it's carb compliant and this and that. And he didn't care. He goes, no, it has the wrong number on it. So I get in my car and I'm like, I wanted to call somebody up and vent, you know. I wasted 2 hours of my time and I still didn't get it done. And then it's like $100 to do it besides the registration. So I was sitting with nobody was available. I called a couple of people and they were working or whatever. And I couldn't like talk to anybody. So I'm in my car driving. I'm going, okay, what am I going to do with this? Right? If I believe everything's perfect, where's the lesson? Perhaps, you know, I was here doing this rather than somewhere else where I could have been hurt or, been in danger or whatever, something like that. So to trust in that moment that it's all just right, it's all perfect, it's all for me, right? But again, like you don't see it. It's like hidden. You know? It's like it's veiled, and so the trust comes in, the trust and faith. Okay, God, something happened there. I'm not, I don't know what it is. It's like not telling me what's going on right now, and maybe I'll see it in the future, but so all these things going on, the anger and the frustration, and I'm a victim of these people. I trusted them, but they're not trustworthy, right? So, and then breathing and going, okay, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? You know? So,
The eternal question.
yeah, no kidding. So I made another appointment with another shop today, and I'll be there on Thursday.
Okay. Well, I'm very interested to hear how the story goes now.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Yes, please do.
So how does anybody else in the group deal with this? Like something you go to do something or something happens and like, this didn't work out the way I wanted to. I was expecting this and this happened. That guy's an idiot. And all these judgments come up like, that creates, it's like that it's energy, right? It creates that stress, the tension, like, I don't want to blame other people or like let them be. I bless you on your path, How do you guys deal with this kind of thing? Is it breathing? Do you drink a lot or do you running or what are some of your modalities?
Mark.
Yeah, again, just a little thing I do when again, my model of how things are going to go goes south in a hurry.
Hmm.
I don't beat myself up. I simply chunk up and I go, well, Jesus had days like this,
That's a
and he
good
had
one.
ones, and he had ones that were a lot worse. And I say, nobody's
Yeah,
tried to
yeah,
nail me to a tree. Day's not over, but nobody has yet tried to nail me to a tree.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, that reframe, gives me a little chuckle. Okay, all right, maybe things aren't as in the moment they seem bad, but they're not quite as bad as they could be.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for
like I
sure.
said, so and to a lot, not particularly religious, but that's my go-to is like, well, Jesus had days like this, and he had ones that were a lot worse. So, kind of restores my perspective, on because there was a book out there a while ago. It said, "Don't sweat the little stuff," and
Sure.
then in parentheses underneath it, it said, "It's all little stuff."
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a transderivational search there, my friend Mark.
There you go.
There'll be days like this. What kind of days?
Yeah.
The other part, and I teach this a bit, is understanding protective empathy, which maybe I need to relabel it or whatever, but my version of protective empathy is understanding that the person you're dealing with is dealing with their own
Yeah.
life and whatever.
Yeah.
And in fact, I did a reframe for one of the ladies at the counter at the hotel, that the second hotel we stayed at. And something had come up and she gave me an answer, and a little bit later somebody else came up and came up with a different answer, and she goes, "Oh, I was wrong. Oh, I hate it when I'm wrong. Oh, I was wrong." And I said, "No, you weren't wrong. You were doing the best you could with old information.
Yeah.
You just got your information updated. Now, if you keep sticking to your story, then you could be wrong." She was like, "Oh, well, I never thought of it that way." I said, "Well, does it make your day easier now?" She goes, "Yeah, you learned something, and now you get to go along with that story."
Mhm.
Just like with the mechanic that smogged your vehicle, who knows what information they're going off of, or whether or not the number that they saw on the part, if they wrote it down correctly, missed a number, and they went, "Oh, well, this number comes back for a catalytic converter for a Buick, not your vehicle."
Mhm.
I hate to break it to you, but that's not a Buick. But
Yeah.
they're in their mind, with the information that they gathered, going by that information, they're correct. They got the wrong information and they don't know it.
Mhm.
And, you know, here we are a few minutes away from another close, and we've all learned something, I hope, tonight,
Mhm.
which is my main goal for this. And a lot of times I don't know where it's going to lead. I do my best to come up with with 3 topics and toss it up there and see what sticks. And that's why I love working with you guys, because when you're dealing with humans in their natural environment, everybody's looking through their personal lens.
Mhm.
Just like with,
Sometimes it's like herding cats, and that can also apply to thoughts as well.
and just like with people with PTSD, sometimes when they describe what they're seeing, you're like, "Pfft, really? Your parents were yelling about something and you couldn't find your teddy bear? That's it?" But through the lens of a 3-year-old, that's epic. That's, oh my gosh, you're defining events. We moved when I was 5. Was it good or was it bad? It depends on the definition,
Yeah.
the lens, the interpretation.
Always.
When Lenora brought up, what did you guys do before the internet? A lot of that depended on the group.
Sure.
Did you have a group of philosophers, or did you have a group of complainers? Did you have Billy Joe Bob explaining to you how to, talk to women? Or did you have the pastor explaining to you how to talk to women? Hopefully Billy Joe Bob wasn't the pastor, but he could have been. I'm not sure. But in the end, we got all this stuff in a 2-hour segment because you guys are here. So thank you very much for once again giving up your precious commodity of time, which I will always thank you because I haven't figured out how to duplicate it and hand it back. I always say, as soon as I figure that out, you'll be the second to know. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Go out, have an awesome week. Live life to the fullest, make the world a better place. It already is because you guys are in it. You've made my world better. Love you all. See you hopefully back here in 7.
We love you too, man. You rock.
Wait a minute. And for you on YouTube, love you, Ma. See you guys next week.
All right.